Fortuna, California with Sally Fry, who is a regular instructor at the Quilters Affair and Sisters that happens the week before the second Saturday in July when the show is. And she's invited us to her home and sewing room. She doesn't call it a studio because, like me, she thinks she's more of not so much an artist. And
True.
no, I always say I'm a great quilt customer, but Sally has opened a shop, which you will see on the quilt show. So, how long have you been in Fortuna?
I was born and raised here in Fortuna. I was born in Scotia, which is 10 miles south, and then lived here with my family all my life. So my whole life I've been in Fortuna.
And you are on what you call the Kenmar Homestead.
Ken and Martha Gilson. Homestead.
And it's a wonderful place. And hopefully you'll see G film some of the outside and the garden. And it's kind of like where we grew up on the coast, where there's fog that rolls in and then there's warmth from the east side. So you get a lot of growing season here. So, Sally, when did you start quilting?
In 1993, my son, my youngest, which was John, my son, he graduated from high school, and I knew there was something I needed to do. I collected antique quilts for years and years and years, and then I decided I'm going to take an adult ed class and learn how to quilt myself.
Wow. That's almost, I started in 94 because I needed to figure out something to do. That's great. So, what were you drawn to back then as far as quilting?
Pretty much my antique quilts. I always looked to my antique quilts to see the style, the pattern, the colors. I collected antique quilts for years. I wanted my house to be full of antique quilts, and that's pretty much what I was drawn to. And then to twist them up, look at the old quilts and then say, oh, how could I do that with the rotary cutter? How could I do that with the placement of the blocks? That type of thing is really what I was drawn to with the old quilts.
Well, I heard from my friend Anne, who's the Cotton and Wool's blog, that she had taken a class from you and you were teaching wool.
I've been teaching wool. Well, pretty much before wool, it was that felted wool, that National Nonwovens. And I did that for years. And I remember submitting it up at Stitch and Post. Oh, I'd love to teach this. I'd love to teach this. And they were going, nope. And then finally it was, yes, you can teach that. So I've been doing it a long time.
Oh,
I love wool a lot.
And so are you at all kind of gathered into that modern quilt movement and all those bright colors too?
Pretty much with the quilt shop, we kind of are fit into that niche because there's the traditional quilt shops around, so we're kind of feeling the modern, bright, but yet we're traditional. We have both, so the problem is I like it all. There's not much I don't like.
So do you travel to teach now besides come into Sisters?
I did for quite a while, and then now that I have the quilt shop, I've slowed down. Can't be gone.
And what possessed you? Just
to open a quilt shop? It's in the back of, I think, every quilter's mind.
I totally agree. But some of us don't dive in.
I know. And one of my students came to me and said, what do you think of a quilt shop in Ferndale? And I said, if I was going to open a quilt shop, Ferndale would be where I would do it. And I got so excited talking to her on the phone, and we were discussing it, and I'll help you, I'll teach for you, I'll go to market with you. And at the end of the conversation, I said, do you want a partner? So we have the best of both worlds with two of us together. I can take time off and be with my family. She can take time off and be with family, but yet we can still do what we both love to do.
Oh, that sounds absolutely wonderful. It is true that every quilter wants to own a quilt shop, but very few of us could make that happen.
I'm glad I'm not doing it as a single owner, because you just spend the whole time there.
Right.
Yeah.
And that truly, and you have to alter somewhat what you're making too.
Right.
Because you actually have to market to the public and not necessarily fill that well yourself.
Right, you have to. And that's what I found. I'm making samples for the shop constantly, and then, it's like, oh, I want to do something on my own. I want to work on my own projects. And so my partner will say, Sally, just go home for this afternoon and work on your own stuff. Don't worry about that. And so she knows. She really, truly knows that I need that.
Yeah, that is and it's funny because, we just had our anniversary, our 39th anniversary, and our honeymoon was spent coming through here, and that was the first time I saw Ferndale, and I actually on our honeymoon said, I'm moving to Ferndale. That's where I want to. Of course, I ended up at Sisters, but that's okay
It's pretty
too.
close. I think Sisters and Ferndale are so similar.
Charming little towns.
Yeah, you have the Cowboys side. We have the Victorian Village.
I know.
So it's just kind of I call it the same. It's
Yeah.
pretty much
Yeah, it's like that step back in time.
right. Exactly. Christmas. I was leaving the shop, and here's the local band playing Christmas carols on the corner of the street, and I'm going, "Is this 1950?" I just was so It was. It's just stepping back in time totally.
If one had a quilter's bucket list, which I have on my Pinterest, my bucket list items
Well, I'm gonna have to look.
of things I want to do or travel, do you have any?
I think the one thing that I would love to do, I've done quite a bit, but I would love to go with Sue Spargo to Italy or to France with French General or something like that. And, I met Sajata this last year in
Right.
Sisters, and she's talking about taking a group to India. So that could be there. So I'm not sure. It's to travel with a group of women and doing your passion is what I'd love to do.
Oh, see, I went with two other girlfriends, and we did the quilt shows in France, the largest quilt show in
yes.
France. That was extraordinary.
Yes.
That was really extraordinary, and it's true. I have a few of those too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you go to some other quilt shop, are you looking for things that inspire you or kind of bring them back to your neck of the woods?
Totally. Especially when you go to Stitch and Post. I mean, that place gets me every time.
Yeah, they really have that sense of
Right. And so
putting it all together in these little groups that make you want to open your wallet to them.
Right.
Yeah.
I
That's
know.
a good thing to learn.
I know. We're trying. We're
Yes,
trying.
yes.
We're
It
such
takes
babies.
time.
We're such babies.
Yeah.
But I come home with all kinds of trinkets to say, look at this, look at this. What do you think?
Yeah.
And so that's what I do when I go to other shops.
So getting back to having grown up here in Fortuna, you have how many children?
I have 2 children, and they both live in Sacramento with I have 5 grandchildren.
5 grandchildren.
Yes.
So you can't make quilts for yourself.
I know. I hid one fire truck one last night so it wouldn't be all over the place. My little 5-year-old wants a fire truck quilt.
Oh,
So that's what I'm working on. I mean, just for fun.
So family gatherings are a big thing on the homestead
Yes,
then. Huh?
yes.
And mom and dad, you said, live here?
Yes, they live here now. They traveled years and years. They've traveled, and now they're home because they're elderly and they can't really get out and about. So.
Yeah, that's why they tell you to travel now.
Yeah, get it out of your system.
Yeah.
Don't tell my husband.
Yeah. That's why we're quilt roadies.
Yes, he's gonna want to join you.
I know. Well, he was telling me what YouTube channels he watches.
I know.
We're doing that whole. Well, he hangs out in the redwood forest, so that will be a big video for him. But so I have here a quilt that you're going to be teaching this coming Quilters Affair, huh? And I love the color combination.
What if anyone remembers years ago there was a guy from San Antonio, Texas. His name was Glenn, and he used to come to the quilt show, and since then he has passed away from cancer. Well, he gave me a quilt top that was his grandmother's. Oh. And so this is what I did with Glenn's quilt that was his grandmother's. Mm-hmm. So it's the same pattern as as his pattern, but it's using modern fabrics.
Modern fabrics.
Still, it kind of looks masculine, I think, with the black and white check.
Oh, yeah.
I think it looks really...
And the graphics that are on the fabric.
Right. It
know.
looks... And so I just called it Glenn. It's just my tribute to Glenn.
Now, I saw some blocks that Scott had posted on Instagram, and they are kind of that graphic look for
Right.
for men. So what about this one that you're
This
holding
one
here?
is a K fabric, you know, it's called Funky Logs, and I have an old quilt top that looks like this. And what is really fun is I had to really look at the quilt and figure out what was why I was drawn to the quilt. And it's because you repeat the fabrics. You repeat the lights and the darks. And then, so then of course I love K Facets fabrics. So I just made that quilt out of his fabrics.
And the thing I love about this one is that I love this kind of soft on one side. You wouldn't even, I mean, a traditional log cabin, you say, oh, lights and darks. But this really has a soft yet modern feel
Right.
on one side. And then the bright.
The bright. And it kind of makes a circle.
Uh-huh.
It kind of makes a circle. But I really had to study the old funny looking quilt. It's really a funny looking old quilt top to figure out why I was drawn to it. And that sometimes takes a while for me to really put it up on my wall and then just look at the old quilt and say, now why am I drawn to this quilt? And figure it out.
Yeah, I have a friend in Madras who loves to take old quilts and then recreate them into
Right.
a new version of itself, you know. It's kind of like carrying on that tradition.
Tradition,
It's
yes.
carrying on that
Yeah.
tradition. So your kids, quilters?
Neither.
I don't know how many times I hear that.
They order. They order. It's mom's orders.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
so
what
you're like a fast food quilter?
Yes, yes. Like today, my grandson was driving down and I said, here's a quilt for your mom. She wants a fall quilt on her wall. And he goes, okay, I'll take it to mom. He's here going to college. So my oldest grandson's here going to college. And so he was going home to see his mom and he took her a quilt today.
Oh, that's going home. If I remember correctly, it's going home for a meal.
Yeah, he comes to grandma's for a meal. He's going down to see his mother, but he comes to grandma's for a meal.
Oh, that
Yes.
is so great.
Yes,
So great.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take a short break and then we're going to walk around the sewing room, not quilt studio, but sewing room, and take a look at some stuff, and hopefully Sally can tell us some history behind it. Okay, so here we have a Bernina 440.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your go-to machine.
Yes, this is my favorite machine. I keep thinking I need to upgrade, but why? This one's doing just well at what it's doing. So.
Right. And then you not only have one, but you have two Tula
Tula, yeah.
scissors.
Tula's in the house.
And that's got to be the biggest tomato pincushion I've ever seen.
My girlfriend made that for me because I don't like tomatoes.
That's a girlfriend. Huh?
Yes.
And I love this. You like things like I like things. The
old school,
stuff, old school cabinet. And this is so funny that you should have a Harold Turpin house because, honey, my birthday's coming up next week, and I actually brought this up on Google that this is what I want for my birthday is one of his houses. You know, I really like those. He's shaking the camera, telling me no. I want one of these. I love these.
I got that when I taught up in Seattle at a quilt shop in Seattle. They had them. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to find one that's on the road now.
Yeah. Oh.
Because it would be perfect time
Because
for
then
him
it would be, yes.
to buy me a present.
Yes.
So
when I had my building, when the studio was being built, sewing room being built, I said, I want this side to be cabinets. And then I showed him how to fold some fabric. And I said, this is how wide I want the cabinets, and I want to stack this many, and I told him exactly what I wanted. Now, see how messy it is? But most of the time, when I first moved in, they looked really nice. So you can see the grouping that I'm working with, and then the grouping that I'm not, they're still nice and neat.
well, I just love the fact that there's a construction going on according to how we fold our fabric.
Right,
I mean,
exactly. Exactly how I fold. So these are pin keeps. These, see the snowmen
yeah.
up there?
Oh, yes.
And then these, and then I have my Halloween ones over here. And it's a girl that I went to grammar school since second grade with who makes these. She lives here in Fortuna. And
I need one.
we have some at the shop.
Oh, sweet. I'm glad we're heading there.
And so she sells these on the internet, but she makes them for my friends and myself. We sell them all the time.
Oh, how
So-
cute.
Yeah. So this was, and I went to school with her. She's really.
Three-dimensional things are challenging for me.
She calls them pin keeps.
pin keeps. And you collect?
I collect old sewing machines. I'm kind of a collector, and then when I get so many, then I'm done.
Yeah.
I just say, oh, I have way too many. This is plenty.
Yeah. I think I don't have enough. I only have one.
Some of them are at the shop right now. We have them on the cabinet at the shop. So, and then fat quarter towers, and, I just want it all. That's probably why
This is looking like you have the same disease I have, that they're so pretty in their
They're wrapped-
tower that
yeah.
you don't take the ribbon off. Yeah,
no.
yeah.
Even the plastics on them from Quilt Market.
I know. Like the little, what are those,
Yeah.
frivels.
Yes,
I can. Yeah.
I know.
You don't open them.
No, you don't use them.
Yeah.
They're just pretty.
So let's go over here, this cutting table. Did you have that built?
Yes, my contractor that built the room for us, he was very interested in how tall it should be for my arms and easy cutting. And then he had a really good friend that was a veterinarian, and I kept telling him, after going to Valerie's studio, she has a big barn light over her cutting table, and I said, I want a big metal light. And he said, I have perfect lights for you, and that's from the veterinarian office when they operate. These are operating lights.
So when you are cutting a quilt, you're quite serious and sterile about the whole
Yes,
thing.
yes.
huh?
And you can go up and down.
But nurse,
Yeah.
adjust the light
Yes.
for cutting the quilt.
Yes.
Yes. That is amazing. But what a terrific idea for repurposing something.
Yeah. They were just laying on the back room. He bought new ones, and they were just in the
Oh,
back
my
room. And he said,
gosh.
"You want those?" I go, "Yes, I'd love to have those."
And I love that.
That's Tony's,
I
our
know.
dear friend
Our
Tony.
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 Yeah, I'm signed up for Sue's stitching class in October, which Sue can't come to, bless her heart. But we're keeping good thoughts up
Yes,
for her. But
very
Tony is taking
Tony.
over, so she's
I would
no
take Tony
brainer.
anytime. Yeah.
no brainer.
Yeah. Tony was just here.
Oh, she was.
Well, probably a year ago, maybe 6 months ago, and she was driving down to meet Freddie, and she stopped to see me, and she stayed the night here with us. Yeah, so
Girl night.
yes,
And then you have. Is this one of your?
that's
wool?
one of my wool.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh! And you're not doing it. You're not teaching that. Huh?
Well, it's really funny because my business partner is loves wool, so I told her she could teach the woolies
oh.
because she's never taught before.
Uh-huh.
So I said, "You teach the wool. I'll help, whatever." And she's never taught before, so that she feels very comfortable teaching the wool.
And so you carry wool at your shop?
Yes.
Okay, well, then we need to move on fairly quickly.
And we have a lady in Garberville, which is an hour south, that hand dyes wool for us.
Oh my God.
And then we add other things. The other
My birthday's coming up. We could create a nice little pile. Starting with the Harold Turpin house.
and a pin cushion,
And
then
cushion.
the wool. That would
Yeah.
be perfect. So this is just a messy old spot over here.
This is like the business area thing.
Yes,
Printing, command center.
yes. And you'll see there's Gene Wells' postcard there. There's one of Tony's postcards.
Have one of each of those two.
Yeah, you have to have them.
You have to have them.
And then I call these little gadgets over here, I call that my travel trinkets or whatever. Just one little thing I find wherever I travel to stick in my box of just little stuff.
Oh.
You know, it's just fun little tiny things.
Uh-huh. And that almost looks like a drawer on its side or something?
It
What is
was
that?
it was on its it went up and down, but I wanted it sideways.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so
Oh, cool.
and the cherries is one of my
oh, was that yours?
yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, that's mine. That's one
Oh.
of mine. So
Well, this has been fabulous, and oh my gosh, I just saw the phone.
that's the red line.
Did you see the red phone?
That's the red line.
Was that the one that was ringing a little while ago?
Yeah, it was.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
This is a command center.
It's the command center, yeah.
Oh, and then we just have to show the Tula Pink Dresden plate.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
I just
mean,
took a class from Katie Pasquini. You know, she's my neighbor.
What do you mean she's your neighbor?
She lives around the corner. She moved back here.
Call her up.
She moved back here.
Oh
She
my
was born and
gosh.
raised here.
Really? Did you know that?
No, she told me in Sisters that I was her driver one year. And she said, I was born and raised on Kenmar Road.
Oh, gosh.
And so last year, 2 years ago, she said she was selling her house in Santa Fe and moving home. And so she moved home in May. She's lived here since May. So I'll be out at my mailbox and Katie will drive by. It is so strange.
Oh
It is
my
I go,
gosh.
hi Katie. Hi neighbor.
Wow, so this is going to be like a quilter's mecca
Yeah.
too, then.
Yeah, so I took a class from Katie. And are we finished?
Yeah, I think we're about done.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so
thank
much.
you.
Now we're going to head over to the shop.
Yes.
And get birthday presents.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Anna.
birthday.